And this is the final race of the national election in Trinidad and Tobago. And today we are with Ms. Nafeesa Mohammed, the former deputy political leader of the People's National Movement. And Ms. Mohammed, you just sent in your letter of resignation on the eve of election. And we do understand that your family have had a long history in the PNM. What was your motivation? What caused you to sending this letter of resignation to the People's National Movement?
Well, Kezel, let me just say that this letter of resignation came about after a long period of introspection, and there is a huge disconnect on the ground. And when I see how things are unfolding, I cannot help but remember the song, too much, too little, too late. Okay? And to me, trying to fool or mama guide the population at this stage, with all the goodies that are being given out and whatnot, that is not going to cut it in my respectful view after August 10th, 2020.
And Ms. Mohammed, well, the question that everyone will be asking of you now, why now? This move that you're making, is this a stand that you can cripple the PNM in this upcoming general election? Is it that?
Well, let me just debunk that from the onset, because I am not that type of person. And my response to you is, why not now? And I say this against a background where for the last 2 years in particular, I have been agitating and lobbying and speaking out about certain issues. And it just seems to be falling on deaf ears.
What are these issues,
Right.
Ms. Mohammed?
One of the big issues has to do with certain events that transpired in the year 2018, when there were some raids that were carried out at the peak of the carnival period, the Thursday before carnival, when there was an announcement that, there was a terror plot afoot. And in several homes in the community where I come from, these homes were raided. There was a heavy presence of law enforcement officers, and nobody knew at the time. For example, they came into the street where I live. And from the time anyone talks about terrorism nowadays, it's an association that is made. And I can safely say with confidence, coming from the bowels of the Muslim community of Trinidad and Tobago, you tell me, what incident of terrorism have we ever had in Trinidad and Tobago?
Tell us about the Trinidadian women and children in Syria that you were advocating for the Prime Minister to bring them back home.
The long and short of it is that these relatives have been pleading for the repatriation of their children and women. Men took their wives and their children across to that conflict zone area. And my information is that if 40 men went, at least 30 of them have since been killed.
So did they go across there to join in any terrorist activities?
And it's just a trickle, a handful, a mere fraction of the Muslim population who, in my view, very misguided, in my view, who would have taken those steps to go across. And that too highlights a certain disconnect in our society that would have caused these persons from the Muslim community to want to migrate and go across to greener pastures, if you may say so.
Ms. Mohammed, in your statement, you refer to the term banwas, which means in exile.
Yes.
And you felt as though because you were outspoken about the injustices that you faced within the PNM government, can you highlight some of those injustices that you face?
Well, let me say, the concept of banwas, from my little knowledge, is that it's a Sanskrit word, and being in banwas could mean a voluntary, self-imposed kind of exile, or it can be exile in the form of punishment. And I really have felt as though I was banished into banwas.
Do you feel it was a form of victimization?
A form of punishment for my speaking out in 2018, when at the time with these raids that were carried out for Carnival weekend, there was a huge rally of Muslims, and I was asked to speak on behalf of those persons affected.
But Ms. Mohammed, injustice isn't done only to the Muslim community. By
Precisely.
extension, we have the Hindu community, the Christian community.
Yes.
Injustice is all around.
And let me say this. Recently, just before the election date was announced, what transpired in Caledonia was an injustice that the residents in the area received to have taken action.
You also make reference in your writing that you felt as though you were a victim of bullying. You felt as though you were under the hands of a bully, that is our Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Kezel, and you felt as though there's a disconnect and a lofty, aloof sense of arrogance among some of the members of the
Let me tell you,
National
I
Movement.
have worked with the Honorable Dr. Rowley for a number of years. He's a man who I always held in high with respect. When these events happen, I do not wish to get into the details or personal issues, but I have felt as though I became a victim of political violence.
You know that politics is like a game of chess, and you are silent until it's time to say checkmate.
Yes.
When you said that you're trying to get a meeting with Mr. Stuart Young and with the AG, Mr. Faris Alwari, and that was not possible, and you are the deputy, or you were rather the deputy.
Precisely.
political-
Do you think that you feel a sort of responsibility? Because, I mean, you singled out Mr. Alwari and Stuart Young in your statement. Do you feel some sort of responsibility for their negligence, or in a way to
Not responsibility. Coming from a background in the PNM, there's a certain culture, and one would assume that there would be that respect and that regard. I have served the party in various capacities, and for 13 years as a deputy political leader. And these young boys now come into the politics at the front line, and I don't know if it was a deliberate attitude of not reaching out, or they're so busy that they cannot make the time. But at the end of the day, an election day is judgment day. And this is a time when citizens have the opportunity to go and speak with their fingers. If you never afforded me the opportunity to be heard for all this time or whatnot, I intend to use my finger on the Monday, the 10th of August, to let my finger speak.
And is it that, I know that you said that Mr. Saddam Hussein, who is the UNC representative for that area, came into your village, came into your street, and came to you and embraced you as a leader, embraced you as a mother, and you felt a sense of sadness, a heaviness in your heart to know that this same level of treatment was not extended to you by your own.
Kezel, when the announcement was made of the gentleman who is supposed to be representing the PNM in Barataria Sanwan, Barataria Sanwan is a unique place. It's a very diverse constituency, all right? And it has a very rich history and legacy. When it comes to culture, when it comes to religion, when it comes to sports, Barataria Sanwan is a place that has produced a lot, that has contributed towards building this country. I am not into balancing. I don't know how to balance. It looks like now I have to start, I don't know. I'm balancing all now, I suppose. But all I found out was that the candidate who they announced was somebody who had a road march song in 2010 called Balance. And I know the gentleman Blaze from watching him on TV. Yes, but at the end of the day, is entertainment a criteria for dealing with these issues that we are talking about?
You are giving support to Mr. Saddam Hussein, who is a member of the United National Congress.
Yes.
But do you think you are talking about the general ideals, and it is that ideology, and as I said before, it is also a collective conscience. Do you think that the United National Congress they have that collective conscience?
Right. Just around after these carnival rites, and so it was Eid al-Fitr. And the leader of the opposition came into El Socorro and at the time of the Eid Namaz. And it was announced that she was there. Now, I didn't want to get caught up in the politics and things, so I left and went by my grandmother's yard where we all assembled normally on Eid Day. And lo and behold, relatives came in calling for me because they said that the leader of the opposition wanted to meet with me. She came in the house that I was in. We greeted each other. It was the day of Eid. And I had 5 minutes with her. And I said to her, as leader of the opposition, She's the guardian of our democracy. And at that time, there was a draconian piece of legislation in the parliament, which were amendments to the Terrorism Act that was passed in 2005.
Thank you, Ms. Nafeesa Mohammed, for being a part of the Live Wire. It was indeed a great pleasure having you on board. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you all for allowing me to be here and simply to clear up my intention and what has transpired in the last couple of days.